All right, I think that's where we're going to transition. Hopefully YouTube doesn't hit me too hard for that. I'm sure there's got to be some copyright issues. Today's going to be a fun day. We've got a lot going on. We've got Papa Powell heading towards retirement on Wednesday. He'll be heading out the door. We've got earnings this week, and there's going to be a lot of different earnings. Not so much today, but a ton of stuff that's going to be coming up tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday. All the big players are going to be out. It's going to be very exciting. We've got economic data today. It's not coming until 9:30. It's the Dallas Fed Manufacturing Index. It should be enlightening. I would like to see this go higher. If you look at this trend over here, you can see that's the way we've been going after 3.5 years of pain, nonstop. We're looking towards a potential recovery. And if we go out a long time on this, guys, you can see this is record-breaking amounts of time that the Dallas Fed Manufacturing Index was in the negative. Outside of this one little blip over here, it's just record-breaking amounts of time. If you look at the depth, 2008 looks worse because it went further. This one's actually lasted longer, which puts them really close to each other. I'm expecting this to be higher today if we get another positive read, especially if it's a good one. That would be super fantastic. We've got Tim Tillis? I can't remember. Tillis has said that he's going to go ahead and approve of Kevin Warsh and his nomination. So we've got Kevin coming in. So again, today, or I should say Wednesday, we have the Fed that's going to be Jerome Powell will be doing his final meeting. And then come June, that should be Kevin Warsh, and it should be a new team. I highly doubt, we'll find out, but I highly doubt that we will see Jerome Powell stay on 80% of the time. The Fed chairman has stepped down and relinquished their seat as not to be seen as political. And that is what Jerome Powell has sold his entire legacy on, was not being political. So it would be very shit of him after the DOJ investigation was removed to stick around. So I don't think he wants that for his legacy, but we'll see. You don't know what's going on behind closed doors. That'll be interesting too. I'm also going to tell you today why Bitcoin isn't going down another 30 to 50% like everybody seems to want it to. We're going to look at trends, and we're going to talk about why the last cycle and the depth that we obtained in that one was greater than what we will this cycle, and why. So smash the like if you would, and we will get started. Again, Bitcoin hit 79,000. If you look in the bottom right corner, you will see that it is not broken out yet. Now, I talked last week about us consolidating in this range. If you look in the bottom right, you can see me moving the mouse. Consolidating in this range and then attempting a breakout. We're hitting that wall hard. So again, I wouldn't be surprised if we go down, test the green trend line, because we haven't done that yet, and then look to go higher. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. We'll see. We might just break out, but I do think that having a week off, especially with the macro and the way that it's set up right now, is probably warranted. And I want to get in real quickly. Let me zoom in here. We'll probably start off with Iran. This is going to be super quick. The Iranian government, whoever's leading it now, let's say the president, he is proposing, or some group is proposing, that we just stop our blockade. We push nuclear negotiations to later, and then we can talk. And I just don't think that's going to happen. People can dream about that, but I don't think it is. I'm not going to go through the rest of this, but this is an Iranian who's saying that their economy is getting utterly destroyed. I think Trump is more than happy to just basically blockade these bitches, and that's creating a massive amount of pressure on their oil sector. Their entire economy is in disarray. We're crushing them financially. We've crushed a huge amount of production and manufacturing. They can't pay all their IRGC soldiers. We let a bunch of people come in from Iraq and other areas that they thought were like mercenaries that were going to help out Iran. But now that parts of the Iranian government are wondering if that's a trap because we let it happen. There's just a lot going on right now. But I can tell you this, Iran has no friends in the Middle East. They're going to talk to Russia and Putin. Putin probably likes things the way they are. He's actually making some money again. So I don't know how much he's going to work to end the war. That's pretty much it. That's Iran, guys. It's kind of boring. Let me check out chat real quick here. Then we're going to jump to U.S. economy. Then we got to talk about Bitcoin. Otherwise, it would just be insane of me to play that intro and not talk about it. For people that are new here, I think I'll cover this just super fast too. Very short story. I guess a lot of people didn't realize this because a lot of people like the post. But I retired a little over 6 years ago. I thought it was 5, but I realized there's another year on there because it was the start of a pandemic where I retired. I did that with a little over 300. It was probably closer to 350, somewhere around there. And then I got down to probably 150,000 while I was retired. My wife was still working. I ended up a little over a year later retiring my parents, her parents, and my wife. And that's the way it's been ever since. And so I've been living off of this, and I didn't have any kind of revenue coming in from X or YouTube or anything before. So I was taking care of other people and retired and growing my account, and I grew it up to 6 million. It fell back down. I'm under 3. I think a lot of people didn't know that story at all. There's more to it. We could talk about that some other time, but I just wanted to get that out there. Let's real quickly go to U.S. economy. There's so much to talk about. I've gotten way better on the bookmarks. I still haven't found a really great tool. I was looking at Dimmy and I was looking at Tweet Smash, but they all require access to my X account, and that's frightening as hell. So if you guys know of a better tool, let me know. Chat, we got Morning All from Apathy. Hit the like. Apathy's telling you to hit the like. If Apathy's telling you to hit the like, I think you have to do it. Kenny's on his 5th cup of coffee. Holy shit, Kenny. Good luck with that. That's probably not healthy. I love you, bro. Let's see here. Central, good morning. MicroStrategy BTC purchase. Yeah, they bought like what, 3,800, 3,500 with shares. This is just showing how much better STRC is right now for accumulating Bitcoin. Very exciting stuff. I see chips up again today too. I love being in the green to start off a Monday, even if Bitcoin is retracing some of its gains. I love that. I do plan on doing some buying. We can talk about what that is later. Everybody said good morning. Hopefully YouTube. Oh, that was me. History guy from Florida. Fun day. Bee Cave, Texas. We got people from all over the place here, guys. U.S. oil is starting to reach countries in need. Trump is rebalancing oil trade. Oil is something we're going to talk about, too. We're going to talk about gold. We're going to talk about everything. Kenny Brown. Smite. Great word. Yes. King Size Smile, good morning from Las Vegas, Bitcoin Conference 2026 this week. Anyone coming? I am not there. Are you there? That sounds awesome. I know Michael Saylor is speaking today. How cool is that? We got Stony saying good morning from Singapore. What's up, brother? All right, let's get started. We got a lot to roll through, so I'm going to try and be fast today. If you guys have questions in chat, definitely throw them out. And again, comment, do the likes, do all the things if you could, guys, on X. I've got a post that's sitting up near the top about this stream. If you could comment under there, it's hugely beneficial. Comment, like, share. It helps the channel out a lot. And it's been a rough half a year, I think, for everybody in the crypto space that got smited by October. We'll use that word again. Kobayashi letter. Investors are flooding into equity ETFs at a record pace. Average daily U.S. equity ETF volume surged to a record 7.5 billion in the first weeks of April. This is up 153%. This is just a massive short squeeze, guys. By comparison, the full year 2025 average was 3.7 billion, meaning April is running at more than double last year's pace. So you could see how these are the averages for previous years here, so that's a little bit confusing. If you're not paying attention, it's not the total, it's just the average for the year. So you can see how 2025 was like 3.6, but then January, February, March was probably closer to average, but January, February, and April are much higher. And I think we had that wicked short squeeze too. That's benefiting us. Let's move on. We've got Ed Yardeni saying he thinks the bottom's in. I like Ed. I respect him a lot. Let's listen to what he has to say real quick here. It's 28 seconds.
You think that March 30th low is the low?
I think that was the low, yes.
And we will not be testing those levels again.
I don't think we will.
In
It doesn't come with a money-back guarantee, but I think what's going to continue to power the market higher is earnings. I think we had a pretty significant sell-off that offered a good opportunity. You know, the problem is everybody now knows that geopolitical crises are great buying opportunities. So when we get one, you don't really have much time to.
You think that?
Yeah, he's right. He's right. He thinks he says he thinks the lows, and then he said you don't get a lot of time to react with geopolitical events because their upside is violent. I agree with that. The NASDAQ is a great example of that. We'll talk about this more later, but if we just hop over here, I mean, if that's not violent, I don't know what violence is. Just like this, Jesus. It's always violent, guys. The upside is violent in technology. Bitcoin's technology. Did you know that? Did you guys know that technology is deflationary and Bitcoin is technology? It is a way for you to be able to cheat the system. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Let's keep going. Daily chart book put over the past 15 years, analysts have revised their EPS estimates down by an average of 2% between January and April of 2026 is a different story, JP Morgan. So look at this. Here's the average, guys, for 14 years, from 2011 to 2025, revisions down. Look at what's happening. Are you bearish in this? You shouldn't be. When you see these kind of revisions, this is telling you things are beautiful. Cole's a good guy. You should follow him if you don't. I've watched his account grow a lot. He provides a lot of value. Probably gets more likes and comments than I do nowadays because I grew too quickly and half the people in my Twitter hate me. So I barely get likes at all. Or he's just doing way better and better content. It's possible. Kobayashi letter. Foreign holdings of U.S. Treasury surged $200 billion in February to a record $9.49 trillion. Of that, $7.76 trillion, or 84%, consists of long-term Treasury securities, with the remainder held in short-term Treasury bills. This is just something where I want to reiterate here that we're getting more foreign entities owning our treasuries and using our dollars. So please, to all of the people that are talking about the death of the dollar or still bring this shit up, it's not happening. Speaking of Luke Gromen, Western markets and economies were supposed to collapse about 11 days ago. Follow Sina? I hope it's Sina. He's great. I don't know if he's Iranian. He definitely seems to love the Persian and Iranian people that are not a bunch of terrorists. So he seems like a pretty good dude. He posted this about Luke. It says, Iran is still, this is March 12th, okay? Iran is still sending oil to China. China has 200 days of oil in its strategic reserves. Strait of Hormuz closure will collapse Western markets and economies in 45 days. So I just want to be clear here. There are people that preach doom, and Luke has done really good because gold did really well. That's not going to work out for Luke over the next year. I don't think to the way that he hopes it will. I don't think the gold bugs are going to be very happy either. We'll talk about all the reasons why, and if you guys have questions, throw them out. Michigan, what up? How you doing, S-Mod? Andreas Steno Larson. I wish I could have hung out with him when he was in the United States, but we live quite a ways away from each other. I think he was in New York, and I'm in the Midwest, so I did not make that happen, but he's a great dude. He says, are we sure that the U.S. economy will come to halt just because of the war? Remember the leads and lags of macroeconomy, friends. I would agree with him and Jordy Visser that I think there's other things driving the economy. One would be, believe it or not, AI and robotics. The other one would be energy. The other one would be deregulation. The other one would be promotion of Bitcoin and crypto as assets that our country supports with the Clarity Act that looks like it's a lot closer to passage. But just speaking about the AI part, you've got the Korean exports here, and these take turns. Sometimes they'll lead, sometimes they'll lag. It's not like Korea leads the United States. Let's just be real. But if you look here, though, when one of them leads, the other laggard does come along. And so what is this telling us? The dark bluish black line is South Korean exports. The light blue is ISM manufacturing PMI. So we're talking about ISM Manufacturing Purchase Managers Index looking to grow substantially to catch up to that. Does it have to go the full measured move? No. But if you look around here, man, damn it, these things do go really close to each other. So I would expect more upside. I think if you listen to all the bears that Jason Papazino, whatever the fuck his name was, came out of me at nowhere, then you're going to believe that Bitcoin could drop 50% from here like a retard. And it's not going to happen, and we'll talk about more why here soon. Kobayashi letter, again, another great one. I think I have a subscription. I should actually try and pay attention to what that gives me. I know I have one for Zero Hedge. He said, for the first time in history, there are over 60 plus large crude oil tankers bound for the U.S. U.S. crude exports are up by 2.5 million barrels per day since the Iran war began. U.S. big oil will see the most profitable year on record in 2026. So do you guys see a change here? Can anybody point out? I know charting can be difficult for some people, but if you look at this one, chat, can you tell me, does anybody see anything that's changed at all in the trend? I know trends are difficult, but do you guys see anything different here I don't know. Maybe it's all these ships coming for our crude oil. So we're benefiting right now. Our manufacturing is exploding because of the tariffs that were implemented a year ago. We're deregulating like crazy. Investment into the United States is going through the roof. We've got an AI boom where the South Korean export index closely correlates normally to what happens in our manufacturing ISM. And then we're looking at oil explosion. We're looking at everybody needing LNG and us building out. We've been building out facilities, which is great. Now we're just going to be doing that on crack. Christoph Barraud, whatever that is, S&P 500 reporting highest net profit margin in more than 15 years. I'm sorry, wait. So not only do we have some of the largest EPS revisions, Jason pizza. I used to love pizza, but I don't like pizza so much anymore. But that's great. Good for him. Net profit margin is not only record-breaking, 15-year record-breaking, but we're also seeing EPS revisions trending higher, a lot higher than they normally do for the last 14 years. So that's interesting. Papazino, better? Nah, whatever. Fuck it. I don't really care to learn it. Doesn't matter much. Bob Elliott, I put huge deal here. Equity analysts are now expecting the highest earnings growth in a decade over the next year, other than this post-GFC and COVID recovery. So again, forward earnings, nominal versus real, are screaming higher. Nominal's screaming higher, but that's kind of the way it normally works, right? Nominal goes higher first, and then real comes second, because inflation can be a factor in things. And so you have this wide disparity here, but real earnings will start to trend with that. You can see it, right? You can see how these still remain tightly correlated, even though they're at their widest margin of a very long time. I posted the housing sector is near 2008 lows. We've talked about this a bunch. I won't cover it too much, but I said both for the level of the drop and the amount of time we've been here. So again, if you look at the drop that we had during the great financial crisis, one where the rating agencies took a bunch of shit debt from people that couldn't afford their fucking mortgages and then rated it AAA and sold it to everyone, creating a systemic crisis that almost collapsed the world economies. That was kind of a big deal. And we've been there for three and a half years. And so again, this is waiting to explode. It's not waiting to collapse. And can that take a while? Yes. The spring is actually moving slower than I anticipated because I didn't see that we would be at war with Iran when we last talked. And so, yes, we're creating short-term inflation from that. I think it's a lot less than people believe it to be. The data that's been coming out has been reaffirming that. Ryan Detrick, two myths that aren't true. The U.S. stock market is top-heavy, and the U.S. dollar is losing its reserve status. So let's look top-heavy. Let's look at other markets around the world and see if they're top-heavy. It says China here is at 44.4%. China has an absolutely horrific stock market that hasn't done anything since 2008. It's just a little bit above those levels. So we'll forget them. But Belgium, Denmark, Finland, Israel, Singapore, Spain, Netherlands, Mexico, all these countries going all the way over here to Australia. So all these others are more top-heavy than we are. And then when we talk about Swift data shows dollar bolstering payment share, we're at record levels going back to 2021, at least on this chart. So people are using it more, and stable coins have barely kicked in. So that's interesting. I said we're winning the Iranian war in many ways. This has got Mario Nawful. He says the Iran war is handing America a level of energy dominance it couldn't have achieved any other way. U.S. crude exports hit a record 5.2 million barrels a day last week. Europe now gets a third of its jet fuel from U.S. refineries. Countries across Asia are signing long-term LNG contracts with American suppliers because they have nowhere else to go. So you got to realize, is this war causing pain for the rest of the world? Fuck yeah. Australia, really bad shape. Really, really bad shape. Parts of Europe, jet fuel, I mean, they're going to have to start reducing flights. But that'll happen naturally because they're going to raise the price of them because they don't have enough jet fuel or it's costing them too much to get. And that will naturally restrict demand. So a lot of these things get figured out on their own, but what doesn't get reverted back is these long-term LNG contracts, these long-term oil contracts, these long-term jet fuel, all the stuff where people are reaching out to us and increasing the amount that they put towards it. And just look over here again, guys. Look at, I don't want to show this whole video. There isn't much point in it. Let me find the good stuff here. It's right here, right? It's right here. Look at this. Look at this. Everybody's coming to us. Everybody is coming to us. That's a big deal. I hope you realize how big of a deal that is. What earnings interest you more this week? I mean, the stuff that I hold interests me the most, if I'm being honest. So I'll be paying attention tomorrow to Robinhood after close, Enphase after close. I'll probably watch Enphase. I don't know if I'll stream it at all. If there's interest in that, let me know. SoFi, Wednesday morning, obviously another one that I care about quite a bit. And then Thursday afternoon, we'll have Zeta and SanDisk. I have very little SanDisk, so I'll be focusing on Zeta. There's guys that do that conference call already, so I'll just pay attention to that. Friday, I don't have much of anything, but that's just for my stuff. There's other big dogs that are going this week. Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, Google. I mean, it's fucking everything, right? ADP, that's always interesting to see because, again, they manage payrolls. There's just a ton of stuff. We got CAD in here, MasterCard. There's so many different companies reporting. It's all interesting to me. Let's go back over here. Keep going. Spending tells the real story. Charlie Balelo, U.S. retail sales hit another all-time high while consumer sentiment is at its lowest level in history. So if consumer sentiment is lower than the 70s when oil inflation was through the roof and people had days where they could go buy gasoline, maybe people are too pessimistic about the market. And again, some of this, like consumer sentiment, especially anything University of Michigan, is just a fucking lie. Let's keep going. We got a few more things to touch upon, and then we'll move on. Call put ratio activity has literally reversed completely. So we were very, very pessimistic. Now we're not super optimistic, but I had a friend point out here, 1.6 is kind of the range where we shit the bed. So we still have a path for higher or maybe a consolidation here before going up, but don't expect to see the short squeeze that we saw last week. I put 2022 on this chart was one of the worst years for tech companies like Tesla, Meta, and Palantir, which were down 75, 85%. I mean, there were so many companies getting crushed. I said, we are not set up for that kind of year. What am I meaning by that? IPO gross proceeds. This is 2022, one of the worst years for the stock market in recent history outside of the pandemic over the last decade. And look at this. Look at this. Look at what we're set to do for this year. We're already here. We're already like almost 3x what we did in 2022. So again, IPO market also hot as shit. I'm not going to go into all this, but James E. Thorne just talked about all these straits and how we have a lot of power over them right now. Oil is washing out the oil trade guys. If you look over here, UTSO, oil fever fades in ETFs. We had the largest outflow going back to the great financial crisis. Probably not good for people that are long oil. Again, everybody gets excited about shit, and they'll tell you it's going to go to $300, and then they just get brutalized by it. That's just showing the global PMI was doing good. This is showing that we are getting liquidity from the balance sheet. We were selling it off for a long time. We're buying it back. It's not a huge amount, or we're buying equities and everything else and putting them in our balance. But again, it's not a huge influx, but it's positive, and that's a good thing. I think this is good enough. We're going to stop here on that front and move on to other stuff. Let me see here. I'll probably go to I'm probably going to go to Bitcoin. Let's get metals out of the way. Are you going to participate in the space name plays? SpaceX going to lift the names up? I don't really have any intent to. I think they've done really well. Other people can focus on that. I look at it this way. It's like focusing on the car space and then being like, hey, are you going to focus on Rivian? They don't make any money. And Tesla owns the EV market in the United States. But space is even worse because SpaceX puts up 90% of the payload mass for the entire planet. Now, are there other companies that can do all right? Sure. And maybe there is a market for additional competition. I mean, Bezos finally landed something like 8 fucking years later. He finally got a rocket to land itself that doesn't look like a small penis. So good for him. And, but again, when I look at these companies, I just don't see how they can compete against a company that has over 90% payload mass for the Earth, the entire planet, every other company and country on Earth competing against them, and who's getting ready to get Starship working, where it can provide 10x the quantity of what a super heavy can do. To me, that seems like a crazy world to bet in. People can make a bunch of money in it. I'm just not interested. But I hope other people do. I'm happy to pull up charts, especially on chart day for it. I don't want to shit on other people's. I don't want to yuck on people's yum, my wife likes to say. That is not my goal. The gold miner, this gold miner is guaranteed to ramp up their production substantially wherever and however they can. So this is Oliver. He talks about energy and mining a lot, like gold mining type stuff. He said, unprecedented. Leading gold producer Newmont just announced that they generated over $3 billion in free cash flow for Q1 2026, setting a new record. So it looks like gold miners are going to start doing well, right? This is an insane number compared to going all the way back to the early 90s, right? Like, we can all agree that for 35 years of history, this is wild. Here's the problem, though. This creates a massive incentive for them to produce more. And you don't get that with Bitcoin. Bitcoin just keeps reducing every 4 years for new issuance. But with gold, you'll see a massive influx of gold. They will mine the shit out of every place they possibly can. They'll extend hours. They'll hire more. They'll figure out where they can open up additional mines. That will be happening all across the world as everybody tries to capitalize off of it. So miners will probably, they've probably done well, but they'll probably continue to do well for a little bit because of this. They'll get that last boost that gold has been getting. But I want to show this too. So my friend Gen Z Money Moves, he showed how we had this parabolic curve and how we've broken down out of it. This is not a good sign. And if we test back over here down to this level again, that will just reiterate my thesis that gold is pretty fucked. It's a $37 trillion, maybe $36 trillion asset today. That is a huge amount of money. If you think you could just double, if you think we're going to shove another 30 trillion into this, it actually takes less depending upon how much money's moving in, time frame. It's like all this shit, right? It's just agreed upon price in the end. So it's not like you need 30 trillion to do it, but if you even need 20, that is a huge amount of money. I hope people understand that. Our entire bond market for commercial, governmental, all of that shit in the United States, $50 trillion. So if you expect gold to double, you're just like saying they assume the entirety of the United States bond market, which is the largest bond market on Earth. I don't think that's very likely. Again, silver, if I look at silver here, guys, for what I had my projection, I put this out April 21st. That was 6 days ago, almost a week ago. If we look at that, I was saying, hey, we got bearish divergence. It's going to drop. Next level of support is in the 60s. We are not doing good here. If you look, and this is on the weekly, so it's not such a great view. But again, you can see where we broke down out of that 100 moving average and how we're starting to fall lower. So I think we're going down to at least test, around this low 60s range, the 200 moving average at the very least. And I'm not saying gold's going to crash. It could probably get down here, establish a base, and then start trying to make a move higher. I just don't think it's going past its all-time high, or I should say silver in this case, is not going past its all-time high of 121. It's just not going to do that. You already had the parabola, in my opinion. Now, I know there's people, I don't remember if it was a Goldman Sachs survey or report that said that gold could get to $300 soon, or silver could get to $300 soon. I just don't think that's going to happen. But if you want to take that bet, feel free. Again, I'm not going to yuck on your yum, but we did break down out of this from what I was talking about a week ago. And COMEX copper inventory surge at all-time high. U.S. has built its biggest copper inventory in more than 31 years. I wanted to reference this too. So we have tons of copper, guys, and that number is probably only going to go up. But we are working on getting precious metals. A lot of people don't seem to know that, and we're one of the biggest out there. So I'm gonna jump out of that. I think we're done with metals. Let's go to Bitcoin and talk about that real quick. Alex Garcia, what's up, brother? Glad to have you here. Again, if you guys could hit like, that'd be great. I want to give Jordy Visser a little bit of a shout out. This is a long video. I'm not going to play it. This is the whole thing from over the weekend, but Bankless posted this, a quote, AI is destroying every moat except Bitcoin. Bitcoin may be the clearest winner in an AI economy. So inside of this, Let's just read what else they put in here. Oh, and they did a nice job with timestamps. It said an asset built for a world where AI compresses software, weakens old moats, and pushes investors towards what stays truly scarce. So again, he's talked about metals, he's talked about fuels, he's talked about optics and all these things, chips, all these things that are truly scarce in the world. I 100% agree with him. I think Jordy is a very smart man, especially for somebody who's getting a little older. He is sharp as a whip and very much still in the game. But I agree with him. I think that's very true. And I think Bitcoin wins on a couple of fronts. He was talking about technology and how technology is deflationary. Bitcoin is technology, so it's deflationary too, and it does great things. It can build, you can feed off of the money printing and the excess around the world and the governments that can't control their finances, and you can capture that wealth in Bitcoin at a time where they're likely. I don't think the United States is going to try and do this. We're trying to manage our stuff well, but even in trying to manage it well in our current state, it is an excessive amount of money printing. That's just the truth. And in a world, I'm going to show you another thing in regard to AI. I might do that right now, talking about AI and just what to expect with jobs being reduced in the future. And I think that's a guarantee. I think jobs are going to come down. I don't think it's going to be an apocalyptic short term, but I do think we're on a new trend where job and employment goes down, and we need to think about that too. But Bitcoin is a beautiful thing. It wins in a deflationary world and an inflationary world. It wins on the technological side of deflation, and it wins with inflation, because as there is inflation in the money supply, which we'll need, that's going to be my argument that we're going to talk about in a second. We will see people looking for, again, true scarcity and something that is not impacted. If you're getting fucked on your software companies, if you're getting fucked on things that aren't truly scarce, you're going to put your money in AI, and you're going to put your money in Bitcoin, and you're going to put your money in scarce things that are just going to go up in value. I think that is the new world. I think Jordy Visser is a visionary, which is funny because with a name like Visser, it kind of makes sense. All right, real quickly, before we get into Bitcoin, I do want to talk more about AI. I want to talk about this post right here because it's fucking beautiful. I don't know that I want to read all of this. Maybe we'll start it and then I'll summarize. But Sightbringer had a really interesting insight, and I wanted to talk about it. He said, this is the AI substitution showing up in the data for the first time at index level. What is he talking about? He's talking about this. So Kobayashi, I think, yep, posted S&P 500 employees fell in 2025 for the first time since 2016. We can't ignore that. That's a 10-year time frame, right? Commodity super cycle. I think some commodities, yes. Anything tied with AI, yes. It's definitely going to be a super cycle. And energy, I think a lot of that's going to do well. But the problem with energy is it's like, where are you going to benefit? Who are you going to benefit from? Because there's a lot of incentives in this country, too, especially with the major hyperscalers, to make it to where energy prices for individuals don't go up. So it's very interesting stuff. Let me read this real quickly from Borgusio. Hey, Jesse. AI, I'm rotating out of Semi into SaaS with CRM Adobe now. Thoughts? I have just realized that you have a Thursday session for charting. Sorry if this is we can pull up those charts then. I don't know, man. Here's my worry, especially with CRM Adobe and now, and watch Jordy Visser. I don't want to go into all of this, but my worry is a lot of that could be replaced by just talking to AIs in the future. They're so smart. You could tell it to build you a CRM and it could do it. I think whether or not, and a lot of these things are super oversold, so maybe in the future that changes, but I don't know if CRM and Adobe and now are my favorite plays. I wouldn't own them. And I don't know that software is just a great thing to be in. The only kind of software I would be in is maybe like a Palantir, which is really highly valued right now. Companies like Tesla have good software, but again, the hardware is what really defines them and where their expertise is. Software companies like Robinhood are interesting because, again, they're like a pseudo bank, and SoFi, again, very software driven, but again, a bank, and destabilizing traditional banking where they have physical infrastructure and slow systems and tons of overhead. Don't get me started on fucking Wells Fargo. I'm going to do a post about that. I'm done with those motherfuckers. I'm switching everything to SoFi. I'm so pissed. They've done nothing to help me. Absolute assholes, but I'll add that on another post later. Anduril isn't really a software company either. I mean, definitely software, but again, it's the hardware that's driving the valuations. They're working. They're Palmer, Lucky, bleh, is trying to create products and weapon systems that are substantially cheaper and that can be produced in mass and that can be produced across factories all across the country, if needed. So he's just doing something different, and it's very hardware driven. But again, it's a software company, great software, excellent top tier software, just like Palantir, just like Tesla. But it's the hardware that's also really driving these guys. Or with Palantir, again, they have so many built-in government contracts, and they're only getting more ingrained. And then they have, obviously, a working system for software that is allowing for massive growth. But the valuation is just too high. I don't love it. Anyway, I think I focused enough. True, however, even Anthropic is rallying on CRM and not replacing it anytime soon. I agree with that. But again, they're the ones pushing the narrative that's crushing the stocks. And can they continue to crush that? Maybe. But getting back to this again, first time for the big dogs in the S&P to have a reduction in jobs. I think that pattern is going to continue. And let's listen real quick here. Sightbringer says, this is the AI substitution showing up in the data for the first time at index level. The 400,000 decline in S&P 500 employment is the inflection point that everyone knew was coming and that almost nobody is ready for. The framing is going to dominate macro debate for the next decade. I agree with that, at least the next several years. Most analysts will get it wrong because they'll treat it as a cyclical labor cycle when it's actually a structural reorganization of how American capitalism produces value. I agree. I think that AI is driving the future in just about every way. Robotics, AI, it's intelligence, and it's coming for everything. And so I think the concept of taxing people, especially anybody in the bottom 50% at anything at all, is just asinine. And I think we're also overtaxing the rich, especially companies. The less tax we put on companies, the better. But we need to deport illegals because we can't have a bunch of... This is the mistake that the rest of the world is making. You can't have a bunch of people funneling into your country when the bottom end of jobs will get replaced by robotics and white-collar jobs will get replaced by AI. It is just such a bad idea to bring in more people when what you should be doing is automating as much as possible and alleviating tax burden. The president has indicated that he wants to reduce taxes and eliminate them completely for income. I think that is one of the smartest things he can do. And I think that will be really, really beneficial for the working class, and it needs to happen. But we're looking at a structural decline that's going to continue and build in strength. AI will remove more and more jobs. I agree with David Sachs a little bit. We're seeing things like in software programmers are going up. There's a lot of job openings for them. So we're going to see this like wave of up and down. And I think we'll have a wave down. We're in that right now. And then I think we'll have a wave up where jobs come up a little bit. But the word structural means that the long-term trend is down. And I 100% agree with that. That's where we'll need something like a citizen income where even people that can't find jobs are able to get some kind of money to sustain themselves and live a decent life. And I don't think that's a horrible thing, and everybody calls that socialism or communism. They're very different things. Trying to evenly distribute the wealth of the population is very different than ensuring that the bottom end, at least the bottom 40, 50%, aren't getting absolutely crushed by money printing and their jobs going away. We should be able to care for those fucking people. That should be a priority of ours if you want a stable country. So anyway, so in here he talks about how we're going to continue to see this decline, and that the Fed can't do a lot about it because they can lower rates, but that doesn't really solve the problem of people not having jobs. Reducing taxes would solve that problem, and giving a universal basic income would solve that problem, and I think we're headed more towards that all the time. And I think by 2028 at the latest, we'll have some kind of universal basic income. I do think there should be an incentive. I think everybody should get it because I think that makes sense. I don't think you want a tier where all of a sudden if you reach a certain level, you don't get it anymore. And then it creates an incentive for everybody to say, I'll just stay down here. But anyway, that's my thought about AI and robotics and employment. And I just wanted to throw it out. We're going to go back to AI a little bit more in a second. I want to get through Bitcoin first. Definitely going to talk about Micron, SanDisk, and these others because they're very important. But let's get through Bitcoin, and then we'll go from there. Central History says it's also importing dangerous ideology. What is that in reference to? Maybe that was a conversation I was saying, and it's just not coming to mind. Central said the new jobs in an AI environment haven't been created yet. History Guy scalps, Virginia Congress moving to eliminate no tax on tips. Just absolutely stupid. That lady is such a cunt. Sorry, can I say that? Let's keep going. This was me talking about Bitcoin. We haven't broken out, guys. So I said that a second ago. We haven't broken out. I think we're on the edge of it, though. I really, truly do. Getting to 84,000 is crucial, though. If you draw the lines really pretty, I've got a couple of charts now. If you look at the bottom right corner, I've got a couple of different charts right now for Bitcoin and that I'm keeping track of. But this one gives just a really clean running on the 3-day, trying to see where everything lines up for this trend line to truly get above it. And it's around 84,000. There's also a CME gap there. So that's what we want to hit. Ideally, I would like to do that over the next week. It doesn't have to happen. We can drop down here. We can grind for a bit, and then we can look to tackle it later. That is perfectly acceptable, and I think that's what can happen. I wanted to point this out. I said, if I like it when Bitcoin has went up almost 20% in a month and no one's talking about it. So if we look at this chart, we got Bitcoin, Solana, and Ethereum. And again, we're just at levels that have really been dropping down. It reminds me a little bit, if we look over here, I think this was like April of 2024, 25, with the tariff tantrum where we got down here and then Bitcoin had a big spike and people talked about it. We're like that. We're at one of the lowest levels really since the beginning of 2025, something like that. Or I'm sorry, middle of 2025. And then going back all the way to late 2024. Was the other time that we were at this level. So this is very low amounts of interest. Nobody cares about Bitcoin. Everybody in my timeline is bearish. I have this under Bitcoin. I don't know why I have this under Bitcoin. I'm going to put it under a different one. I love Druckenmiller, but we're going to leave that one alone. Frank said long-term holder supply going absolutely vertical, not a lot of sellers. So again, binary spending indicator. Long-term holders this is literally straight up. It could curve back around. I mean, it can't actually, but this is a pretty good indication that you're seeing some very strong interest coming into this right now. We kind of already talked about that. This is, again, me talking about the $83,000 range. When you draw these lines really, really pretty down to the 3-day, this is on the weekly right now. But when you get it really defined, this is it, right? You can see resistance, 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 blew through it, support, blew through it, testing it again. This is what we want to get over. And this is what will be crucial. And I would say crucial over the next month that we get above this thing. The sooner the better. Also, Calio said, I put yes, it's Bitcoin. Yes, it is. Oh, no, yes, it is. So bottom of the bear market is in, having a feeling the narrative of MSTR only buys the local top is about to disappear. So he's just showing here, going all the way back into 2024, when we have like a consolidation period that lasts a long time, like 6 months or even several months. Like here, it's probably like 5 months or 4 months. This one's probably like 8 months. This one's like 6 months. That when we do break out, we go higher. And again, I think if we get above 83, 84, it's going to look really, really good. And I already talked about this, but again, gold miners having huge incentive to produce more, producing more increases supply, future prices suppressed by increased supply. This is made more interesting because it's a $37 trillion asset class. It will be virtually impossible to double in the next few years based on its sheer size. The fun part, Bitcoin doesn't have this problem. It's also just bottomed, and it's better in just about every way. Transportability, everything, right? It's arguably better in just about every way. I think that's it for the Bitcoin side. Again, there's a bunch of other redundant charts in here that I don't really want to focus on right now. So, this one, Bitcoin, NASDAQ gap. Will Bitcoin try and close it? Yes, I think it will. It's done stuff like that over here. If you look in 2023, there was a big gap. The NASDAQ was outperforming. Everybody was complaining about Bitcoin. Eventually, over the next 6 months, Bitcoin is beating the NASDAQ, right? So and there's other, if you go back historically, it looks like that too. So this big gap, yes, I think that Bitcoin will catch up. And if we believe in Jordy Visser, we also think that will be true, right? Because we believe that software, and the NASDAQ has a few software companies, will get hurt more, even though it's popped pretty decently here recently, and or Bitcoin will go up to counter that, because the funds are really going to be flowing into there and less into software companies. I think that's very true. There's a bunch of other charts. I don't know, man. I feel like I'm just repeating the same old things. We'll skip that. So again, this one real quick, copper gold, and then the 1 month RSI, and then looking at Bitcoin. Again, you can just very much see here that copper to gold looks like copper wants to break out. When copper breaks out, the IWM, the S&P, Bitcoin, everything goes, because it's showing expansion of economic factors. And this is a good one too, because it shows gold. It was 33 trillion at the time. I think that's actually wrong. I think it's like 36 at least right now. You guys tell me if I'm wrong. But you got Nvidia at 4.8, Google at 4.1, Apple at 4 trillion. Bitcoin is 1.56. It's a little bit higher than that now, but just so tiny. And look at these treasury companies, guys. Strive, ASST, the one that has their SATA product that I think will start firing off this week. They're only 1 billion, and Strategy is a little over 60, and MetaPlanet's not even 3. These are just so tiny in scale. SWC, it sounds like they're going to try and do a product offering like STRC and SATA, a dividend-like product. If they can pull that off, they'll do great. And MetaPlanet has one in Mars that they're trying to get approval for. This is just, there's going to be, it doesn't take a lot of money coming out of these things to make these fucking huge. And I don't think people understand that. They get that when it starts happening, but outside of that, they don't. And it's a sad story, but that is the way it is. Let's go back to AI and chips. I want to talk about it more. We will get back over to MicroStrategy and these other things too, and individual stocks and AI companies that we want to talk about. In the near future, the ability to use AI will be a required skill for hires. I totally agree. That's the big difference too. People that do not embrace AI are not going to find jobs. People in their mid-30s and above need to start reskilling. Dude, college matters way less than your ability to be able to work with AI-related tools. You could skip college and just embrace AI. Teach your children that. Teach them that. Stony, what about MetaPlanet? Well, we talked about that, and its chart looks amazing. I don't want to get into it yet. I want to stay on topic. It's easier for my wife when she edits the videos. Guys, we're doing chapters now. We're going to be publishing more stuff on X, and we're publishing those on YouTube Shorts. And we're making the content to where if you can't attend one of these, but you're curious about MetaPlanet, you'll see those videos. Okay. So we're going to get a lot better at this stuff. And I think that's going to be super helpful. I think you'll like it a lot. Anyway, I'm going to skip that universal income part. Micron. I did the yes here. GPUs need more memory. Now CPU needs more memory. We know that GPU, there's an argument at GPU being in greater need, but now it looks like that's shifting to CPU. All of them lead to more memory and us not having enough. 33% of the HBM, high bandwidth memory, is done by Micron. Micron has a forward PE that is around 8, maybe lower. I don't even know right now. And it's got a PEG ratio that's like through the floor. So it's such a great purchase. We're going to talk more about Micron later on, though, so I don't want to go too much into it. I put power is not only one of the biggest bottlenecks for AI, it's at the start of the funnel. This is off of Anthony Pompliano. This is actually from the 21st, but this is a decree that the White House announced the grid infrastructure is essential to national defense. So they're tying this with national defense. Remember, the national defense budget went up by $500 billion. So that might be a big deal that you want to pay attention to. Maybe. NVIDIA H100 lease costs up dramatically. So just like Bitcoin mining, what normally happens with these graphic processors or Bitcoin miners is the amount you can rent them for declines over time. And with Bitcoin, that's locked in pretty much. There's periods where, again, if the price goes up astronomically, like let's say AI, NVIDIA, Micron, SanDisk, all these companies that are up 1,500%, like even more, right? In a year or two. If they go up a lot, then demand goes up. And so like we've seen this with like the NVIDIAs and with all the chip makers and everybody associated with them, that this is going up. Well, this is going to be beneficial to companies like Iron Cipher, CleanSpark, and others, that Mara, that are trying to work towards being AI companies as well as Bitcoin miners. I think this is all good stuff. It's a really good sign for the longevity. Railroads alone used to be over 60% of total U.S. stock market cap. This is nothing. So this says tech is dominant, but not as dominant as sectors of yore. So if we look in the 1800s, the dominant sectors were financial and real estate. Look at that. Everything was finance and real estate in the early 1800s into the 1700s. 1840 to the early 1900s was transportation. That makes sense, right? Think about railroads. Think about cars being invented. We went from horse and buggy to a transportation industrial age. Then that shifted to, okay, we got the roads. We need the energy. Kind of makes sense. This is kind of where we are right now, right? I think we're starting one of these cycles, except now AI is a part of it. But when you look at information technology, again, largest sector, it's definitely there. But finance and real estate came back, energy and materials came back. So now we're getting a greater mix. I think AI and technology are going to be massive in the future. And I think finance is going to be a part of that too because of the whole crypto Bitcoin stage that we're in. So it's going to be a really wild time. But that just gives you a little bit of history going back to the inception of this country and what the biggest sectors were financially, industrially, materially, and with technology. Sachs, we're lucky to have President Trump. I want to put this out there. This is a minute video, but I just want to reiterate. Even if you have TDS, if somehow you have TDS and you're still watching me, that's amazing because I'm so biased towards Trump right now. But a year and a half ago, I hated him. So if that makes you feel better, I guess it's two years maybe now. So I have the ability to change my mind given enough information. I don't think a lot of people have that. I certainly know some people that have a really bad TDS and now EDS. But it's sad for them, not for me. But I want you to remember, if you're objective in your thinking, listen to this.
And I think on our issues of AI, I think we're really lucky that he's the president who's in the White House when this AI revolution is happening.
I mean, do an alt history, Sachs. What would happen if Kamala Ding Dong was in right
I can't believe Jason is calling Kamala Ding Dong. He was actually supporting her.
now, and we'd have like no data centers.
Would have no data centers, and they'd be using AI to censor us, and they'd be promoting DEI values through AI. That was in the Biden executive order. President Trump just wants the country to win and be successful, and he doesn't have these like doomer neuroses about.
And he's pushing what? Energy. He's pushing AI. He's pushing deregulation. He's pushing invest in America. He's pushing manufacturing exports. And he's doing all of this, pro-Bitcoin, pro-crypto. He's doing all of this at the same time for the last year plus now, almost year and a half, year and a quarter. And now is the time, guys. If you look back at Ronald Reagan, I talked about this before, he did some of the same things, but not to the severity that Trump has done them. So the magnification, I would argue, is going to be stronger with what Trump's doing. But he did some of the same things, and this is when they started to show up.
About it. That's not to say we don't support any regulation at all, but we should have specific solutions for specific problems, as opposed to being cowering in fear over this and just trying to halt all progress. And I think a really good example of that was his idea around data centers, where he said over a year ago, before data centers even became a hot political topic, that we should let our AI companies stand up their own power generation behind the meter. And that's a much better approach than the Bernie Sanders.
And that's what we're pushing for. Do it. Build your power. Don't take away from the local communities. That's what the newer stuff with the large hyperscalers we're trying to accomplish. It's also why sites that already have power are so important. Especially, again, if they're standalone, if they're running on a lot of renewables, if they're running on nuclear, if they're running on wind or water. CleanSpark does a lot of that. That's why the name is clean. Iron is doing that. There's a lot of companies doing it.
There's an approach of just shutting everything down. So I don't know. I think we're like very fortunate that he's the president during this critical time.
I agree with that. I just want to put it out there. Even if you don't like the man, you have to understand from a business perspective, he's good for the economy. If you just sit back and look at it like you don't care about politics, like you don't have your own bias, like you don't get your news media from people that all say the same things. Just look at it from a view objectively about everything that we're doing and think about whether or not that's going to be good for markets. If you can't do that, you're going to suffer greatly in this market. Your TDS will probably ruin you financially if you are somebody who can't understand this. So I really encourage you to. McDankins said that, yes, Open, the stock, the real estate company, software real estate company, also have a pilot for a 4.99% rate. I love that idea. If it's real and they can do that as a business, if they can take inefficiencies, the entire real estate process Anybody who's bought homes knows how horrible it is and just how much paper and how inefficient it is across all levels of government. If they can do that, that's fucking awesome. I haven't looked in a while at their stock, but maybe we'll just take a quick segue here onto this one because that is interesting, just the way that you framed it. So Open Door, we'll just look at it real quick here. So I don't love this stock now, but I have to say this. I am excited about what it could become. I'll say that. What's the market cap? $4.2 billion market cap, 3.5 enterprise. I think it's a little bit higher than what it should be for valuation. But again, as far as innovation goes, this is great. This is like Palantir, Tesla type stuff for the real estate market. And I don't know anybody else that's doing it as well. Chat, do you? If you know of anybody else, please say it. Now, I don't love the purchasing of homes. I don't know if that's going to be a problem with them over the short term. I'm going to yearly here and looking at it. You can see how 2021 and 2022 treated them well. They were at least buying a lot of homes. They were selling a lot all the way into 2022. But after that, when the Fed decided to raise rates at the most aggressive rate in history, it utterly fucked this company and crushed their stock. Net income is not good. They lost $1.2 billion. Cash flow was positive, though. But revenue has sucked, and it sucked because of the Fed. Their debt is the gap is widening again. They're diluting shares. I do not like this stock right now at all from like that level, right? But when the real estate market does turn around, and that's why I'm going to continue to monitor this one, and maybe it'll lead and it'll just have a higher valuation and people will miss out. SB Manchando says up 500% on my January 2027 leaps I bought last summer when shares were 50 cents. That's awesome, dude. You timed that shit really well. Good for you, bro. And it could go higher from here. You could end up doing really, really well from it. Just looking at this, though, sentiment is very bullish. That's not usually a good sign. Analyst estimates are bearish, but again, if the real estate market starts to turn around, this thing's going to whipsaw these analysts. Earnings call sentiment is very high, very bullish. News sentiment very bullish. I don't love that setup. And the stock, I mean, look at the estimates. They're not getting much better, right? The stock, this isn't one I've pulled up in a while, but I want to pull it up because I do find this interesting. I've really thought about Open a lot, and I'm glad you've made so much money. Remember, though, with calls, remember to look at the amount you lose from theta decay over time. Just think about that, okay? Because I would argue that this time, right down here, to this time was kick-ass, and you should have got the fuck out, especially if you had leaps. We are building a base here. And this could send us higher, at least up here to 11. But man, over the short term, I just don't know. It says 5.28 billion today is what TradingView is showing. I just don't know if this level can be justified right now. But I also don't know if the real estate market does turn around and these guys really have great products. I think they're going to end up doing great. I just worry over the short term. I feel like there's better things. I'd rather be in something like Micron. That's my thoughts on Open. But again, they're subjective and they'll change, and I'm definitely interested in it. They hired Kaz from Spotify as CEO, and Raboy came back to the board. That's cool, but again, it's the fundamental thing for this is what is happening in the real estate market. And so the real estate market needs to come back alive. I think that process of pain could still go on into the summer. Maybe even into the fall. It depends on so many variables. I don't think it's the primary driver of markets right now, though. And I do think it's going to come back, and it's going to come back strong as far as sales, but they're probably going to be at reduced prices. We need to build more inventory. I just don't think we've solved all these problems, and it doesn't seem like Trump wants real estate prices to come down very much. So I think this is going to be one of the later spigots that we open. That's my thought process on Open. I hope that that answers your questions, maybe. McDankins, they're actively acquiring businesses to add to the flywheel. I think all that's great. Mortgage, escrow, title processing. I think more importantly, they're adding the absolute monsters for employees who know AI. Yeah, I think that's all great. I think they're going to probably, that is an area that needs to be disrupted so badly. They'll probably be the leaders in it. I worry about the short-term pricing. So if you made a bunch of money off of calls, SB, I don't know, man. I probably wouldn't hold them past 10 or 11 personally, but If it turns into a Palantir, I'll look like a fucking idiot. So who knows? If you know the company better than me, you do you, man. That's all I have to say about that. Kobayashi, the AI investment cycle is only accelerating. Global data centers capex driven by AI is projected to reach $5.2 trillion by 2030, according to McKinsey. IT equipment would represent $3.3 trillion, followed by data center at 1.6 and power generation at $300 billion. So again, the TAM here is IT equipment. That's where the real money is. Next in the list comes data center infrastructure. So you're going to see the Irons, the Ciphers, and Nebius, and all these others. And then power generation is dead last. So just think about that. It looks like market just opened, guys. Ding, ding, ding. The bell has rung. Doesn't look like they're talking about anything too interesting, but that did happen. Spending on AI plans is expected to reach $5 trillion by the end of the decade. Baseline scenario, constrained momentum scenario, I would say that it's at least probably closer to baseline than it is constrained. You'll probably see something maybe in the middle. Accelerated would be great, but that probably comes later. Let's look at what's happening in the market, at least pre-market, see kind of where everything was. So this was before the bell rang. Apple was down 2%. The big dogs were down. Interestingly, though, SoFi is up 0.6. Micron is up over 3. MetaPlanet was up 3% last night. I'm not sure about the US version. Is up 2.33, it said. CleanSpark is down. Cypher's up 0.11. Iron's down 2. So it looks like the data centers, the hyperscalers are not doing very well. MicroStrategy is down 0.78. ARCG is up 1.32. Let's see here. Tesla's down 2.33. SoFi is up 1.5 now. Strive is up 0.13. Zeta's barely up. Again, earnings on Thursday. Bitminer's down 0.8. Enphase is flat. TLT is down 0.25. So yeah, things are moving around. We'll see how they do. I think they're going to bounce into today, but we'll see what happens with the Iranian war. That'll be a big driver. And this week could be a little painful too. All right, let's keep going on here. Almost done with the AI stuff. There's just so much to talk about, guys. There's more prescient people out there in the Valley, has published similar numbers. Just the AI build out. I won't go into that one. That's a lot of stuff. Let me see. I might. Oh, no, you know what? I'm not in my AI folder. Well, where do you see CleanSpark by the summertime, assuming BTC is back around to 100K and they announce the first deal? They're going to be higher. I'll try and talk about that today and at least look at the chart. If nothing else, we'll save it for chart day on Thursday. Rubin Ultra is going to create a dramatic increase in high bandwidth memory requirements. The ramp will start in 2026 to meet demand. So I just want you to look at this. So this year, everybody's talking about like the Rubin getting released, right? And you can see the memory requirements for it. Look at Rubin Ultra for next year. So not only do we have massive demand with memory this year, again, huge helper of Micron. Micron up over 3% right again today. But you're going to have a massive increase from requiring a 300 gigabit to 1 terabyte memory GPU generation by 2027 for the Rubin Ultra. So this is not going away. This is very much not going away. Some of the biggest companies, Investing Visuals has here, Hynix, 61%, Micron, 3 businesses control the entire high band. Oh, and I'm sorry, it says Micron's 21%. I think it's higher than that. I'll have to confirm. Hynix is, again, South Korea. So think about the South Korea market. They're 61%. Samsung is 17%. Treasury Secretary Bessent said if China is the casino, artificial intelligence is the table stakes. If we don't win in AI, then it's game over. Remember, Democrats and what they want to do and what Kamala would have done, which is put a moratorium on data centers so that China could win. Timeline is extremely short, not 5 years or even 3, but a year, maybe 18 months before AI starts defining daily life much more broadly. I agree with all that. This is the TAM that was created from Invest Answers, showing what he believes is going to happen, what the TAM is for Tesla, SpaceX, mega market convergence. Total combined TAM of $83.5 trillion. Humanoid robots are the biggest. Space is next. Autonomous vehicles, then terafab, then AI agents, then AI compute and energy storage. And this is probably true. So when you think about companies, guys, think about what their TAMs are. So this is Tesla, right? Tesla could do all of this once the merger occurs. This is just a huge deal, way more than what I mean, think about OpenAI, think about Anthropic for AI agents. It looks so tiny when you look at the humanoid robot and space markets. Not to mention compute for Terafab. It's just fucking insane. Tesla will be the company of the future. The only thing you will need to invest in outside of some Bitcoin. Mick Dankins, they're actually acquiring. Oh, yeah, you did that already. I'm sorry, Benedict, not Boned. Where do you see CleanSpark? Oh, that was you. Okay. All right, let's keep going. If you guys have more questions, let me know. AI adoption is surging among U.S. employers. 50% of employed American adults use AI in their role at least a few times. I know I use it in mine in Q1 of 2026, up from 46% in Q4 of 2025, according to a Gallup survey. So again, total AI users is up a lot. Frequent AI users is growing a lot too. And then daily AI users is seeing a little bit slower growth. But again, this is what you would expect. Intel earnings call says this is the biggest bottleneck. What did they say was the biggest bottleneck? Memory. Again, Trade Whisperer, guys. If you're not following Trade X Whisperer, he doesn't follow me. That's a shame. I must have said something mean to him, or he hasn't seen me. But but he's great. If you want to know more about memory, more about chips, follow him. There's a few other good ones. Serenity's a good one. They're all great. I'm trying to see if there's anything else here I want to talk about. Look at this, guys. This is Grok Imagine. Look at this. This is AI. I don't know if this is their new voice module too. No, this is just visuals. They're doing 1080p. I don't know if this is the 1080p version or if that's still coming. But the audio sync, the image generation is going to 1080p this month, it looks like. This is just fucking amazing. It's just fucking amazing what we can do and what we've been able to do over a short period of time. Trump says we'll have half the chip market soon. All chip companies are building in the USA. He's right. Over the next several years, he's 100% right. NAND spot prices continue to climb. Again, memory is going to be such a huge theme. Micron is up 5% now, 5.15%. Keeping my portfolio up. Micron. Cypher's up 2.75%. Tesla's only down 2 now. ARKG's up almost 2. Loving that. ARKG chart looks good. We might have to look at more of that in a second. I think that's good enough for now. There's a lot more in here, but we'll go over it so much in the time frames ahead, guys. I'm probably going to, let me just see here. I went through a lot. I'm going to go through Micron specifically. So we're going to start looking at companies. If you got a chart you want to look at, throw it out. I think we're doing pretty good, guys. We're only an hour into this stream, and we've already covered a lot of content. I noticed the viewership is down. It's probably because I'm not starting at the same time. If you guys do like this time frame, please hit the like, shares, all that stuff, please. Micron up almost 6% now. Chips doing really, really well. Let's look over here real quickly before we get too far down the list. I want to switch this to daily right now to see how the market's doing now. Apple's recovering. Wow, Nvidia's up 1.46%. You're seeing some recovery. Energy and minerals are doing great. Finance is doing better today. There's other sectors performing too. Utilities are doing all right. Process and industries, not surprised at all. Distribution networks doing really good. This is not surprising. We are set up so good right now, guys. Hamid, and again, he's referencing work by Trade Whisperer. He's the guy you have to listen to. Micron is not only a major provider of DRAM and HBM, but also a provider of SSD and NAND chips. This is why their market is so huge. The more the demand for memory and storage increases, the more Micron seems comically undervalued. It's also in a breakout, and I'm going to give you more news on Micron, guys. This will be a good segment for my wife to do about Micron. We consolidated very nicely and then broke out of this. This was supposed to be like a diamond continuation pattern. It couldn't even hold the diamond and instead did 3 white soldiers, which is a great pattern. This to this, this to this, like almost evenly going up and to the right. And so now we're just gapping this motherfucker. Next move, I mean, we've already hit this target since I updated last. We're on to the .618. We're going to blow through that. I actually think I think this year, here's my targets for this year, guys. I know this might seem crazy to you, but I think this thing can go up a lot more this year. I'm just going to adjust some of these real quick. And then again, we'll get back to more Micron related news. This is going to make for a great YouTube short, honey. 161% is what I'm telling you. I think between 85 and 161% is what we're going to see from Micron this year. I know that sounds insane. It's up almost 6% today. Love that play. Hope you guys get to understand it. The more demand for memory and storage increases, SanDisk is storage. Think a lot with that. the more Micron seems comically undervalued. This is even more obvious when Robinhood was trading at $7 below its cash value, and Rocket Lab was trading at $3.50 a share when it was trading at 7x or 5x sales. So again, those were great investments. People made a shit ton of money off of it. This is something like that. And I want to show you what Micron looks like, guys. And we're going to, again, look at more news events that tell you why you have to own this. RHX, hey, brother. I like the 8:30 Eastern, but I am also retired. Probably 8 Eastern would be a good compromise. People who are working and cannot stay on so long. That might be a good call. Maybe we'll do 7 for Thursday. I like that idea. That way we're not losing people from earlier in the day. I like it. All right, and who knows? Maybe we'll go back to 6:30. I like 7 better. That does sound nice. Micron Technology, revenue growth year over year, almost 200%. Profit growth, 757%. PE ratio, 24.67. Forward is now 7.33. We're still under 8. PEG is 0.08. Everything is amazing on this. Look at the revenue in their DRAM. It is almost $20 billion. NanoRAM, $5 billion. Other tech, way lower. Look at the revenue growth. Look at the net income. Look at the positive cash flows. Look at the light amount of dilution. Look at the R&D budget that's exploding while the SG&A, basically administrative costs and regular company expenses, haven't really went up much. That's the blue. This is just so fucking beautiful. It's so beautiful. And yeah, institutional ownership is really high. Retail is in it. Insiders don't get a ton, but by comparison. But look at the estimates, guys. Look at this. Look at EPS. This is just such a great company. And look, they're not even selling. They're not even selling. Look at this, guys. They're barely selling their own stock. Insiders have been buying over the years, not selling. Sentiment is very bullish, very bullish, very bullish, but for a reason. Look at social media. Nobody's talking about Micron. This is one of the most undervalued plays in existence right now. It is crazy to me that it's priced the way that it is. And again, let's just look at that chart one more time. Up almost 5%, 4.5% on the day, taking a breather after breaking through this fib line. Man, we're going so much higher. I think this is a doubling potentially this year. I really, really love it. Victor says, we will see this Wednesday for the first time ever, SoFi squeezing. I think SoFi can do that too. We'll talk about that. We'll try and cover it today. Let's get back over here, though, to Micron. So he's saying Micron is currently traded at 5x next 12 months expected profits, and there's a good chance they'll blow away the projections for the next 12 months because of increased prices. We're going to talk more about that. Samsung and Kensington hike SSD prices. So again, not just DRAM, not just HBM from graphics cards with NVIDIA, but also storage is going up. And Micron benefits from all of this. It benefits from all of it. So if you have Micron calls, man, get ready to just get rich. And this is a great example. Shay had this one, and it's so good. This is showing PEG ratios for companies. Intel, again, super fave right now. Intel is not in good shape, but look at this. Look at this going all the way down. NVIDIA, TSMC, these are the real big dogs. Look at how cheap Micron is. 0.2. Intel is 3.2. Intel is so crowded right now. But you got a PEG ratio of 0.2 right now for Micron. It's just a no-brainer. This is right here. It says the most mispriced stock in semiconductors. This is just forward PEs. It shows Taiwan Semi. It shows their revenue guidance. Look at the revenue guidance here, guys. Almost $40 billion for Taiwan Semi. Micron's is 33.5. AVGo is 22.5. Look at the forward PEs. These guys are at just, what is it? A huge level. Or I'm sorry, this is market cap. Market cap for this one, not forward PE or PEG. But look at the market cap of Micron versus TSMC, which it's close to. And then look at AVGo, which has such a smaller, this is like what, a 33% drop in revenue from Micron's. And look at their market cap. It's 4x this. Micron is so cheap right now. This is Samsung factory striking. And they're just saying, hey, Micron is stupid cheap in comparison because if these guys are striking, Micron benefits from that. And again, memory capacity per generation just shows you how much things are changing for HBM. Yeah, there's a bunch more in here. But again, I put Intel has a forward PE of 125. Micron is 8.3. Now it's 7. I know which one's more interesting to me. And again, annual global DRAM demand per internet user. The projections are insane. Micron is a buy and hold. I think SanDisk is a good one. Oh, wait, my daughter. Sorry. Heading to school. All right. Had to say goodbye. There's a bunch more here. I won't bore you with all of it, but this is going to be a great video. So book that one, wifey. Real quickly, MicroStrategy, Strive. I want to cover some of that. If you guys have charts you want to see again, throw it out. SoFi, we should probably look at that. They've got earnings. Ohio State Teachers Pension Fund has disclosed owning 93,750 MicroStrategy shares. Everybody's buying. Strategy bought 3,273 Bitcoin. This is from equity issuance. They hodl 818,334. Wait until they start doing buy monthly or every 2 weeks, depending on how you want to use it. People use it differently depending on where you are in the world. Every 2 weeks for their issuance for dividends, or weekly. Cole talked about with ASST Strive. Cole talked about weekly. Keel, please. That's Bitfarms. I'll try and do that. We might not get to it till chart day, but I'll do it for sure on chart day. Dramatically, Tim Kutzman said ATM velocity of STRC is accelerating. Weekly issuance of STRC. Look at this, guys. Look at that. Look at the growth level from this to just dead in February to March getting pretty big to April being ridiculous. Just ridiculous. And I said, yeah, they're doing a 4x right now, the daily issuance of Bitcoin, but I think they're going to do 10x the daily issuance of Bitcoin soon, just with this one product. Remember to follow for more in-depth stuff. Remember to follow my buddy, Adam Livingston. He wrote a good book. He's quoting Swan here, who talked about Kevin Warsh, AI rate cuts, and the Bitcoin explosion. I think that's all good stuff for you to watch. I won't rehash all of it since we've kind of talked about some of the points. Saturn acquires $18 million in STRC, now at $33 million. So again, a MicroStrategy product that pays a dividend of 11.5%. There are companies that find, or investment entities that find this interesting. And again, we've got, there's going to be all kinds of people that use this. Matt Cole, CEO of Strive, good dude. Digital credit has massive demand because it provides liquid double-digit yield and little volatility with credit risk investors understand and like. The Grayscale report fails to address this. Grayscale is also competition. But again, low volatility, high returns. High returns. You got to love that. Let's see how much STRC is scaling. So this is showing billions raised. They've got strategy and how they've been raising money over time. And then they have what's happening with STRC in the bond market. And I'm sorry, guys, if you're missing this, this is such a crucial thing. Look at the rate of growth and what's happening here. This is why I've been so excited about this over the last several weeks. This rate of growth is insane. Buying 10x on average, the daily issuance of Bitcoin is insane. Very good stuff. We might have to look at indices in a little bit here. It looks like the Dow Jones is doing something interesting. We'll pull those up in a second. TSMC accounts for 70% of global chip market, 90% of the world's most advanced logic chips. So I'm not worried about MicroStrategy owning 7 to 10% of the BTC supply. And that's if they're getting to like a huge number, right? That's if they're getting to, 2 million, or I'm sorry, 1.5 million Bitcoin or 1.7 million Bitcoin, which is a really big number. I don't know if they'll do it, but it's amazing. Average trading volume, guys, this is fucking insane. So the 30-day average for MicroStrategy and STRC dwarfs those volumes, dwarf Tesla, Meta, Nvidia, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, and Google. That is fucking crazy. I just hope you understand this. I hope you guys are getting this. Again, Adam Livingston has projections for MicroStrategy, MetaPlanet, and Strive. They're all interesting. Check them out. I said the engines are firing up. Bitcoin Treasury company MicroStrategy surpasses Google in trading volume and comes to 16th most traded stock in the United States. BTC powers STRC dividends. Bitcoin standard era annualized 39%. I think that's going to trail down into the lower 30s over this next several years, maybe 5. Maybe if it gets into the upper 20s, it's possible. All right, I think I'm good for this part. Let me see. Borgusio, Jesse, in the past, you did mention that MicroStrategy was getting too big for the BTC purchases to make a dent, so you changed your mind. No. Yeah, I mean, things are substantially different because we just saw that, right? We just looked at a chart that showed us that the amount that they're... So STRC is a real product that started this year, and that's tapping the bond market, which is $50 billion in the U.S. alone, or $50 trillion in the U.S. alone. So it's not too big for its britches at all. $50 trillion is a lot. If it took 2% of that market, it would pull in $1 trillion and probably bring the market cap to double of what it is right now for Bitcoin. That's fucking insane. And so I think yeah, there's so much influx that can happen right now because of this, because of the bond markets opening up to these treasury companies. We're reaching a stage 2 that people don't seem to understand, and that's coming very, very fast. And I think they're going to understand it eventually, and hopefully I'm doing a good job teaching you it now, because again, I just want to look over here, guys. I want to look at this again because I think it's just very important that you understand this one graph right here. This is how many months. We're in the 48th month of MicroStrategy acquiring Bitcoin and the rate that it was able to acquire it by dollar amount, right? And then what it is now with STRC. This is insane. They're tapping a market that is dwarfing what they were doing with their equity premium. Those two things are going to start to feed off of each other, but not off just each other. They're going to feed off of what Strive is doing and SATA. And then when Mars gets approved for MetaPlanet, they're going to feed off of each other. And then potentially with SWC and their own offering. So you're going to have the really good Bitcoin treasury companies pulling in from bond yields soon. The biggest ones will do the best. I think Strategy will be the gold. And then the silver will be Strive. Maybe it's the MetaPlanet. Maybe they come back with a vengeance. I don't know. I got 6 figures in both. I'm pretty happy with it. But this is such an important thing for you to understand the level that they're pulling in. 8-9 months in, getting to 8-9 billion when that took them almost 4 years to do with Strategy stock. Please to God, understand that. Understand the gravity of the number that I just gave you. Please. And then look at the fact that the price over here, it's not unrealistic to think that we can get back to $546, especially since we have way more Bitcoin now than they had back then. So I would argue that we can go up 200% this year. I don't think that's crazy at all. If Bitcoin just gets back to its all-time high, this thing will go up 3x. I hope you understand that. That's why it's my biggest holding. Please understand what MicroStrategy is doing. Does that answer your question, bro? I hope so. Let's look at what else we have here. If there's anything else we want to cover. I don't know. I could probably do ASST later. I think we're doing pretty good. I think we're done with this stuff. I think we could just look at charts. Let's look at some different things real quick. I'm going to go over to the dollar. The dollar's getting weaker. Everybody worried about it. I actually like this. I don't know if we're going to go much lower, but I think we can get down here to the 200 potentially. But I think the dollar is going to stabilize. And people, let's just go back and look at longer periods of time so that we understand where we are at the dollar. Everybody's worried about the dollar getting debased and falling apart. This is going back to the fucking 80s. We are at levels that we were at in the 60s. I'm sorry. Let me see here. I got to move it over. Early 70s. So the dollar is not changed much. Do not worry about dollar weakness. It is not dying anytime soon. This is a non-topic. I'm probably not going to talk about it anymore because I think it's just so fucking stupid that anybody actually does. Gold is rolling over. Silver is rolling over. I don't know if anybody cares about that. ETH BTC ratio is rolling over. Let me see how copper is doing. Copper is doing better versus the copper to gold ratio. And let me see. I'll look at oil. Oil's done nothing. Oil's at 96. There's probably not a lot to look at there. Let's see. Let's look at the S&P real quick and see what it's doing. So we'll get through the indices and then we'll go further. So we are still, I would argue, grinding up against our resistance level here. I think we can get some kind of rejection. Maybe it's this week. So if we're going to see down days, I think this is the week that we'll see it. Let's look at the Dow Jones Transportation Index. It was blowing up, but boy, is it taking a breather. I kind of drew a midline. I should probably make this yellow. I drew a midline a while back that kind of lets you know where the center is for where the growth is going back through time here. And so we're underneath that right now. We can go above it. We can stay above it for a while, but we'll see. This is a pretty big retrace. I mean, I don't know exactly how much the Dow Transportation Index is down, but it's dropped a little bit, but you can tell it was just explosively high. 10%, that's a pretty big drop. That's a pretty big drop. So we had, or I'm sorry, 15%. That is a huge drop. I almost need to do more research and figure out why that dropped so hard. I mean, it did explode pretty good here, but that is a huge drop. We're going to need to learn more about that. Let's see what the Russells do in the 2000, the small caps. Let's see how they're doing. Also looking great. I still see this trend of where we go up at least to 3370, if not a little bit higher. That's the measured move for this cup and handle. Not exactly a cup and handle, but again, the premise is the same for the way it plays out, and the percentage-wise is really close. Borgusio said, yes, thanks. I did go into a 3X fund at the bottom-ish, but I'm already scared. 3X funds scare the fuck out of me, dude. If you're up on it, I mean, I won't tell you what to do. I'm not a financial advisor. And Michael Howell is more bearish, but he is very willing to say, like, I could be wrong this time. And he didn't say that at the end of 2022, okay? The end of 2022, he's like, you're fucking wrong. This is what's happening. Now he's like, I think we're going down, but I could be wrong. And his confidence level doesn't seem as good. So I want to be clear about that. And I don't think he's focused on AI, Bitcoin, robotics, autonomy, Kevin Warsh and who he is. And him being accommodative. I don't think he's factoring all these things in when he's looking at liquidity. And it's not just global liquidity. If we look at Bitcoin, we see that U.S. liquidity matters the most to it. But there's just a lot of different factors. But I personally would not be in a 3X fund, bro. I would not. That sounds scary. That thing will eat you alive. If we chop sideways for any reason, for a period of time, it will just eat you alive. It's a really shitty version of an option. That's my 2 cents. I would rather, aren't you okay with 200%? If you're okay with 200% this year, then do that. If you want more, get Strive. Strive looks fucking beautiful. I just posted about that. Let me actually show you that real quickly because that's a good segue into this. So what did I say here? I said we got to the first fib extension level and we're grinding under it. We broke above it, but we're grinding. That makes sense, right? It was support here. Now it's resistance. We have already went up currently 123%, but we were up like 150, 160. Be happy with that. We're still down 93%, almost 94 right now from the high, which is also great. And that's not even the high. That's the high, most recent high. I should actually draw this from over here. So we're probably down 95, 96%. Now, we do have optional warrants that expire in September that are near the 27 levels. So I do think that could be a peak. So we might top out in the next like 63, 64% and have to grind through some of those before we really go higher. So Bitcoin will have to really be doing good to increase volumes to wipe that out, okay? But that's Strive. If you want a multiplier, I think Strive can do crazy shit. I think Strive can give you 500%, at least a 2x versus what MicroStrategy can do. And I think it can do a 3x what MicroStrategy can do, or I'm sorry, what Bitcoin can do, at least a 3 to 4x. And I think it can do at least a 2x versus what MicroStrategy can do. So, or I'm sorry. Yes, that's right. So in MicroStrategy is a multiplier. It's a 2x of Bitcoin. So the underlying can do what? The underlying can maybe go up 70% from here. I don't even know what it is off the top of my head. 80%. And then I think that MicroStrategy could do a little more than 2x and double. And I think this thing could do 500% or more because it's so small. There's an economies of scale thing that you have to understand. It can just do a lot better. What did you say? Folks hit the like for Jesse for all his hard work and accommodating he's always doing for us. Hey, you're welcome, Needs. Thanks, bro. All right, let me see here. So we kind of did MicroStrategy, MetaPlanet. MetaPlanet chart looks great. And then I'm just going to jump through a bunch of other charts, but I posted this one earlier. Just saying, hey, this one's down 91%. They don't have a new product yet, but it hasn't really broken out much at all. And so I think it has the potential to at least go up like 25% to 52% right here in the short term. And then maybe even higher. Maybe we even get up into the fives before they release, just in anticipation of Mars, which was supposed to be released in Q1, but it's waiting Japanese approval. These guys did on the 23rd. They got a 0 interest loan that matures in 2027. So that's a shorter time frame loan. I think it's like a year and a half or two. I don't know exactly when 2027. Let me know if you guys know off the top of your head without me having to read it. But it's 0%, and you can't hate that. But it's dilution. It's stuff they're going to have to pay back, right, on ordinary bonds. Well, I guess they don't have to pay it back on this one. I'll have to look closer at it. I haven't looked too closely at this one, so I'll look at it. But it looks like a good deal. It hasn't done anything. It's close to the breakout level. I think that's what you need to think of with those guys. Let me see what else we want to talk about. We talked about MetaPlanet. We talked about MicroStrategy, ASST, AI and chips, Bitcoin, Iron. We'll look at Iron real quick and see if there's anything new to look at. The chart is pretty looking. So if we go back here, guys, all the way to 2022, you can see resistance. You can see it try and turn into support, turn into resistance again, resistance, resistance, turning into support, try back test to test it one more time, fails, grinds in this wedge, tightening wedge, which is a bullish pattern, explodes above it, now trying to establish support underneath this multi-year trend line. I think this is good. This is a clean breakout. We could back test it still for Iron. Cypher looks similar, but just more explosive. But I think Iron can really go places. I think this year it could go up 200%. I strongly believe that we're going to have a good second half of the year. And my buddy Chad, he does a good job here with Fibonacci fan. Is this the fan? Or whatever. But you can see here how we've been grinding above these support levels. And then again, we broke above this. If you're looking at it more recently here, it's looking good. It's down 0.75% today, but this is looking good, and it's looking like a breakout depending upon how you're measuring it. And if you just measure it the way he is, it's close, and it's going to happen. If you measure it the way I do, where you look at candle bodies, then we're already above it and we're establishing support. I put the $4.5 million in calls that someone's been buying isn't hurting. So somebody bought a large buy of calls for Iron. I don't remember the exact time frame. Maybe this has it here. Short interest also increased by over 3 million shares. So there's high short interest. This could be very interesting. And again, these guys are just building out like crazy. Look towards people like Mike Alfred and others. Honestly, you know who else is really great? McNally's good. Tech Investor's good with this one too. Does really good work. There's probably other people I can't think of. If you guys can think of them, throw them out. April 2027 MetaPlanet. What do you mean by that? What is that, Stoney? Is that a date of some kind that you're talking about? What should we... Iron is such a head start, it's not even funny. I agree, and I think it's outperforming Nebius for a reason. Holy shit, SoFi just increased the number of loans to be sold by 20 to 35K. I don't know enough about these to know if this is going to be a positive or a negative. If you guys know, throw it out. Again, we're going to have earnings for these guys. When is this happening? Let me see here. With SoFi this week, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Let me get rid of popular real quick and just do alerts and then close. SoFi is before dawn tomorrow, Wednesday, so 2 days from now. So that'll be a good one. I'm excited about it. I think it's going to end up doing well, and I think the stock will end up doing well. SoFi doesn't take a genius, so it shows revenue growth and it shows the stock price, right? The stock price is where it was in 2021, and the revenue growth is up 428% since that time. I don't know. I don't remember which one this is, but I love Anthony. He's a great guy. Tevis is great too. These are old. Let's look at the stock on this one. So we'll pull that up. Any other stocks you want to look at, guys? Let me know. I'm going to start taking better notes. I'm going to start bookmarking more things about different financial companies that we're trying to track. So we're going to get really robust about our ability to be able to talk about the macro, the fundamentals and financials, and the technicals of every company that we talk to, not just ones on my list. So we're going to try and get better and better at that. And again, you guys bringing your expertise helps as well. But SoFi, let's just look here. So again, we had a nice back test of volumes here. We're above all of this. This was the next biggest peak, guys, outside of this. And this was way down here at $9. I don't think SoFi is going to $9 anytime soon. This looks great. I'm glad we bounced off this. We had about as deep of a drop over here. We had 52%. We're about 50, a little bit more, I think, on this one. What did we drop down? We dropped 54%. We're still off 42% from the all-time high. So I think from a technical standpoint, I think this one is beautiful. And again, we talked, I told you guys, I showed how this was a triangle pattern and how it was at least going to break down to here. It overshot that. But when you have a triangle like this, it's going to break down, and it did it. And look how far down it went. But it was a buy, and we were buying down here. Great volumes, and we're sitting up here already. I think if you look at this on a smaller time frame, it's going to look more like an inverted. Yeah. So it looks more like shoulder, head, right shoulder. And when you bust out here, the measured move is trying to get you to 24. And I think that's coming fairly quickly, honestly. So what else we got here, guys? Let's see. April MetaPlanet. Iron has such a head start. Yep. The expiration. What do you mean? Oh, the expiration for that one, for the bonds, was April of 2027. So it is a really short-based loan. Loan details: the 20th series of ordinary bonds issued on April 24th, 2026 to Evo Fund carry a 0 coupon at 0% interest. Stony777, VRT, please. I'm curious about XE. Yeah, I don't know what VRT is. Can you tell me what it is? And what I'll do with something like that. Oh, I do want to show a couple other charts. I'm going to show you a couple of mine real quick before we move on to that. Sorry, but I will get to that one in this call. I do still love ARCG. I know it's been painfully slow. I could have options that expire worthless. That wouldn't be the first time that's happened to me. But I honestly probably want to do this right here. I want to change this line a little bit. But so there's, again, this is just, I just really like where we're sitting on this right now. I like the fact that we're establishing support. I like the fact that we kind of got what appears to be a bullish flag that's forming here, and that we're close to being able to break out of it. It's up 2% today. If we get that quick 24% launch to the next fib, and honestly, the trough on volumes here is all the way over to 40. If we get that, I'll be selling out of a decent amount of my options contracts, but I have ones into 2027. I'll leave those alone, but I will be selling everything 2026 to a decent amount of early January 2027. I'll probably keep anything deep into 2027 or 2028. But yeah, just getting to this trough at 40 is going to be amazing. And if we go up 33% from here, it can happen violently. I mean, look at this. This thing was down to $17. It went all the way up to 34 in very short order. So I think in a couple of months, we could maybe see something where we get into the 40s. I'll be exiting a lot of my contracts there. But I think this one is still very bullish. Let's see, Tesla, I need to talk about. We need to do a quick Tesla here. So I upgraded my charts. Okay. So we'll just zoom out here and show you all this. I've broken this down to 3 phases because I think it's smarter to show something more simply. I've extended phase 3 out another like 100+ days to, to January 2027. So a couple hundred days or less. To hit that date. And so I'm saying, hey, maybe this is going to take as long as phase 2 did, but it was 1,000 days for phase 1. It was 2,400 for phase 2. Phase 2 brought 3,300% returns. So what I'm trying to say here is, I think that, and it's down almost 3% today. I think that can continue to happen. I think we can have potentially 29% downside price action. Maybe now it's 27%. And I think we start hitting support around the $300 range, like right over here, right where the volume starts to increase a lot over this shorter time frame. But I think that volume really kicks in over here around 250. The 200 moving average kicks in. That is held very, very well, going all the way back to 2019 was when we started to find support on that, and it's held ever since. So I don't think we're going underneath of that. So I think there's like 27, 28%. Maybe it's 29 to get down to this level. Let me just drop from where it is right now. So 33. So we could lose a third of this, which sucks, right? That would suck. But you have 60, probably 6% upside right now, maybe 67, and 150 plus for this year, I believe. So you could lose a third, or you could gain, 2/3 the price, or again, more than a doubling, 150%. Now, are there better options out there like Micron? Fuck yeah. And so I wouldn't own a lot of this. And we're getting ready to break down of a trend line that went all the way back to April of 2024. I might even take a little bit off the table and buy more MSTR, more Micron, things like that. but we could go down further. I think you got to be ready for that. And so I wanted to talk about that with Tesla. This is a long-term play. People can bitch about it right now because of CapEx. People can say, "Oh, you're flip-flopping, Jesse. You shit all over Jeremy, and you said we were going higher." I still think we're going higher, and I think we can get up here to this $900 range. I think with a massive CapEx spend, and everybody else talking about CapEx spend with the Magnificent Seven and wondering if they're going to be beneficiaries of it, I think there's a new narrative that could be negative. And so I've got to incorporate that new narrative that I think could be negative, but I'm still very bullish on this company. I showed you the TAM. This will be the largest company on fucking Earth in the future, even if it plays down negatively right now. And I could just see people are so tired. Think about this, guys. If you've been waiting, let's see, how many days is this thing chopped? And roughly the same price. So we won't include that. We'll just say that you've been holding since here. 1,600 days you've been holding this, and you've made nothing if you didn't buy lows and sell highs, right? You've made nothing, and you're exactly where you were 1,635 days ago. That's painful. That's super painful. And I could see why somebody wouldn't like that. You know what I mean? All right, let's keep going. Cypher, I said, looked like that. So Cypher looks like a more bullish version of Iron. I'm going to hold to that. It does. CleanSpark, I'll update this chart with the price percentages later. CleanSpark is down 3.92%, consolidating, but again, it's got a really strong volume peak. I think we're close to the bottom. I actually hope it drops more because, again, I'm virtually out of Cypher, Iron, and CleanSpark because I use them for tax loss harvesting, and then they jumped like crazy. Luckily, I was into a lot of ASST, MicroStrategy, and others that have also done well, but this thing went from 786 to 13, so it didn't do as well as ASST or Strive, but it did all right. So I would love for these to be weak, and for me to be able to get more into them. I already showed you MetaPlanet, in phase, still grinding underneath. All right, let's look at some of your stuff, and I'll see. I might need to leave in a little bit. I haven't ate yet, and we're getting closer to the 2-hour mark. I might have to save some of these things for chart day, but I'm going to try and at least get to the one you asked for, which was what? Vertiv? What was it again? Damn it, I don't see it. Tell me if you have it. I will pull up Keel. I think I have it listed as Bitfarms. It might be broken, actually. I might have to rebuild that one. Maybe I won't pull that up. BITF. It's probably broken. Oh, no, it's relisted. Okay, so that still works. So this is doing good, and it's breaking out. I think we could consolidate maybe under the .618 a little bit, and I need to redraw this. I'm not going to do it right now. It could definitely, I think that there's a very high likelihood that off the AI narrative, if this company's doing anything to execute, and I have not paid attention to the fundamentals at all, but they could go up and test the all-time high again at $6.58, or at least the all-time high going back to 2022. If we look over here, the all-time high was like $9, but again, massive dilution done over that period of time. I'll have to update this one later. VRT, there you go. That's what it was. Let me see if I got that one. I don't, so let me go ahead and make a copy. And we'll do more of this on chart day. VRT. All right, let me get it pulled up, and I'll look at the, since I don't know this company, it helps me a lot to get an idea of what they are. Wow, this thing's done insanely well. Is this tied to energy, did you say? Vertiv Holdings is a global provider of critical digital infrastructure and services. Okay, that makes sense. So this thing was $7, and then it went to $325. That sounds insane, bro. I'll look at the financials real quick, but holy shit. I don't know if this is anything I ever like talking about when it's already done this well, but if it's a Micron or if it's still able to feed off of that, got to remember the chip sector, guys, has had like, what is it, 18 straight record-breaking trading sessions or weeks. I can't remember what it was. It's really good. This thing has a forward PE of 53. That's not crazy. There's ones that are worse, but damn. What do the estimates look like? That's good. That's good earnings growth. What does the activity look like? What are people doing? They're not really selling. They haven't been selling since 2024, so they're realizing that they can benefit. They're still bullish, very bullish, very bullish. This just doesn't seem as good of a setup to me as Micron does. And I don't know enough about the company to really be able to talk to it. But, I mean, the chart looks fucking ridiculous. I don't know what to say about this. It's just straight up. So I wouldn't be excited about this as a long, but again, you might understand the company better than I do. I just think that percentage-wise, it's 120 billion. I don't know. Maybe it keeps benefiting from off of all these other services since they're integrated with it. It doesn't seem like the forward PE is nearly as good. I mean, you've got a 7 with Micron, and this company has what? This company has 52.91. So I don't love that setup. Hive. Somebody wants to look at Hive. I haven't looked at Hive in a while. I'm sure their financials look horrible. Let me see. Maybe I'll do a little more. XE is one you want me to look at? Go him. I'll see if I can get to that too. I didn't see if there were any more in between there. Hive. Bitcoin production is way up. Revenue is actually pretty decent. That's kind of shocking. Net income's negative, of course, because Bitcoin got crushed. Cash flow isn't horrible. Dilution has been rich. Operating expenses are going up a lot. They went from 3 to 4 million up to 15 million, but revenue went from 22 to 93. So again, just not like super high good margins. Forward PE says 36.1. I don't know how accurate that is. Revenue estimates are not going up with this one. Are they switching to the AI narrative? This doesn't look super great to me. Looks like people are bullish to very bullish, but I don't know what this looks like. I don't know what Hive looks like from the AI narrative. I can't pretend to. I know there's much better, bigger names. Do these guys have all the power infrastructure? Are they trying to do something like that? Or is this just straight up Bitcoin still? Market cap is 633 million. I don't know. I'll redraw this at least because that did end up happening. It's still down a lot, but again, they're still doing dilution. They estimate 200 million in HPC, high performance compute. Okay, so they're starting to get 200 million is a big increase. So I'm not seeing that in their earnings or the estimates that we're seeing here from analysts. But if they can do that, that's good. I don't know. It's only 632 million. It's a really small cap. So if you know the fundamentals of this and you know that they're going to be better than Cypher, or Iron, or CleanSpark for potential, then great. I don't know enough about the fundamentals of this one to speak much more. It does appear to still be undervalued, maybe. But again, I don't know much more than that. It's just too hard to know. Deal with Dell and Bell Canada. Okay, cool. I mean, that's cool. It's good that they have HPC. If that's true, then 632 million for a market cap seems kind of low if they're expecting 200 million in HPC revenue. I don't know what their total capacity is for energy, though. That would be interesting to know. If anybody knows that, throw it out. Any other news events that are going on, guys, that we need to be talking about? Again, earnings-wise, I don't think there's a lot that interests me today in regard to earnings at all. There are some companies. I mean, if you care about Domino's or Verizon, this is like the popular list. What else do we have in here? AMKR. There's just nothing I care about. Public storage. So are there any railroads or anything? Rambus. Yeah, Brown and Brown. I don't care about any of this. So tomorrow's going to be the interesting day. That's where we get bigger companies. We're getting BP. That'll be interesting. We're getting UPS for deliveries. We're getting the S&P. We're getting Hood. We're getting Enphase, Visa. There's a lot more real world economy and like interesting companies that I own that have a lot of potential. And then Wednesday's going to be great. Thursday's going to be great. Friday, quiet as usual, even though some decent names. I didn't show this, guys, to you. Maybe I can find this real quick. I think this is something I want to show you. It's under investment basics, I think. Wherever I put that. I think this is interesting and I want to show it. Maybe I didn't. I'll try and find it. It was the days where the market does the best. And those days were very, very interesting. I'm going to bring up the earnings calendar again because it's important. So the best day was Thursday. The other best days, was Thursday the weakest? Thursday might have been the weakest. The best days were Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I believe. But Thursday was the weakest. And so that's the end of the earnings. So that's kind of fascinating too. And also I know there's economic data gets heavier in the week, Wednesdays than Thursdays. I don't know. Do you guys remember that chart? If anybody knows of it, shoot it to me. I don't know that I'll be looking at all the miners. but you're just giving you're giving an idea of megawatt costs, but how much do they actually have? Cost is one thing, but do you have a lot of megawatts that are dedicated that you have access to? That's a big deal. Real quickly, I didn't cover this, but I want to. Fear and Greed Index for the stock market, 68, well within greed, but not extreme greed. Crypto, I like this one better than the old version, the alternative.me. This one says that we're in a little above fear into neutral. I think that's another good one to pay attention to. Again, we have this Dallas Fed manufacturing that's coming out in 10 minutes. I might stick around for that, and I'm probably going to bail after that, so I'll do a couple more charts. But I do want to see how this does. If this does well, this is going to be great. That's definitely what we want to hear. So we'll keep an eye on that. And I don't know, do I have CNBC TV? I don't know if I do, but I might pull it up. Do I have TV in this list? Maybe I don't. There we go. YouTube TV. Let's see here. I do. Okay. So we'll probably look at that live in a little bit. I'm just going to join it and pause it.
April of 2008, and I kind of had a front row seat to the
gonna get rid of
financial
the
crisis.
sound.
And I mean, we saw these kinds of
Okay, so that'll come out in 10 minutes, and we'll look at that. And I think, guys, next time here, we're probably going to start at 7. So we'll be doing that then. Let's go MetaPlanet. Yeah, I hope so. We'll see what happens with it. Let's just dial through some of these stocks that we looked at and see where they're at now. NASDAQ is back testing. It looks like the fib extension level, which is pretty normal. Open is flat on the day. Silver is rolling over still. I think gold is going to do the same. It looks like this is probably a little bit delayed, so we'll skip it. MicroStrategy is up, guys. MicroStrategy is already up on the day, 0.42%. I'm actually curious about something. Let's see if either one of these are printing. I haven't looked at STRC. You know what? I might not look at it here. I'll look at it somewhere else. Let me go back over here. So SPX is almost flat on the day. DJT is still falling 0.54%. The RUT is up, so the small caps are starting to go up. SoFi's up 2% on the day. Love to see it. ARGC is still, ARC Genomics is up 1.9%. Cypher's up 0.36. CleanSpark is down 3.76. What do we have here? Keel down 4.71. Vertiv down 3.23, Tesla down 2.8, almost 3%. So we got some things that are down, but really, man, it's amazing how much is doing well. Where do I have Micron? Do I not have Micron over here? I'm going to pull up Micron real quick. I might just have to reopen it. Maybe I accidentally closed it, or I clicked past it and didn't see it. I do want to look at it real quick here because, again, I think it's such a big deal. And if it drops, I want to buy more. Up 5%, son of a bitch. I don't think it's going to drop. It's just going to keep going up. This one has a dividend, guys, of 2.34% on top of everything else. So if you wanted a guaranteed 2.34%, Micron is such a good opportunity. I'm going to definitely parse out the Micron segment, and we'll be plugging a YouTube short on that. It is such a great opportunity. It's just going to go vertical, and people aren't ready for it. Yeah, I think we'll just wait a second here. If you guys have any other charts you want to look at, we'll stick around for the Dallas Fed Manufacturing Index. We'll look at that and see how it performs. And if you guys have anything else you want to look at in the meantime, again, I think Bitcoin, if you look in the bottom right, I think it could still drop down and to the right, maybe try and backtest to the fib. I think I said this about the S&P last week too, so I'll probably just pull it up again. Let me see if I can find it. MSTR. Oh, there is Micron. Right here. So the S&P, I said, hey, we could go down and back test 7,000 still. I think that can still happen. I think we can maybe hit up here and grind towards 72, or maybe we just stop here because we kind of hit resistance, but maybe we get up to 72, maybe even 73, and then we break down and we back test, and then we try and make another launch at it. I think that can happen. XE. Oh yeah, you asked for that. Let's do that. And then we'll keep an eye. It's 9:23, so we have about 6 minutes until that time frame. I don't think I have XE, so I'm just going to assume that. Can always get rid of a dupe if I do. And let's just pull it up. I don't know anything about this, and there's no time frames. I'm sorry, did this just open? What is this? It's a company losing money. It just opened. There isn't really anything I can look at from a chart perspective, but we can try and pull up over here. I mean, there's literally no chart, right? It doesn't exist. Is this a company I can even pull? I don't seem to have it in this list. I could try and look at finance. I mean, there isn't much I can look at on this thing, I don't think. Where did I copy that? I think XE, I might have to do some behind the scenes research here. I mean, I guess we can look over here at the financials. They don't look great. I mean, they're burning tons of money. Operates as an energy company firm in the modular nuclear. Okay, so this is very speculative. Modular nuclear reactors, new company, not profitable, just going on the stock market. Oh, Zeta. Yeah, let's look at Zeta. That's a good one. We didn't do that. Zeta's definitely another one I should have the wife clip a video on. Zeta looks great. So it's grinding up against the first fib. It has been consolidating. It's got a couple of consolidation lines. I need to redraw some charts and get some stuff out here. So that's like the downward trend line. We're still a ways away from it, but it looks very set up for earnings. Earnings are like, Wednesday or Thursday on this one? $4.4 billion market cap. One of the most beautiful stocks I've ever looked at. If we can establish support back above this 1830 range, these guys got hit. So I think this was the trend, right? And then the software issues came at the beginning of the year. Everybody got scared about software, and it crushed these guys. These guys have a data moat that is sick. Definitely watch Zeta earnings. That's something you'll want to do. I might appear on one of those. There's some guys that do it. I told them no initially, but maybe I'll say yes to it, and I'll be on that earnings call. I don't know that I'll have maybe I can provide some technical perspective, even though they already have some of that going on, and they do a pretty good job of it. But I think Zeta is amazing. I want to look at the financials because I think that's where this really shines, not the chart. It's the financials. I think this is Palantir-ish, right? 25% revenue growth year over year. That's pretty good. Forward PE of 16. That's actually, for a software company, that's a great number. Estimates continue to go higher, but I think these could go even more than that. Activity, we were seeing insiders selling, so that's something to keep an eye on. Institutional ownership keeps growing. Short percentage is like at 13% right now. That's a decent amount. Retail ownership has not been strong in this. Actually, if we go back and look down here, there's retail ownership, but I mean, it's mostly institutional and insiders with a very small pie in retail ownership. So this is not something people are really talking about, even though there are a few out there that are doing it right now. But United States revenue looks great. ARPU looks great. Net income turned positive for the first time last quarter. If they have a second quarter of net income positivity, that'll be amazing. Cash flow looks brilliant. This is a company that helps people advertise, and they do that because they've got a massive data moat with all the people they do business with. They do business with a massive amount of companies. Like outside of an Amazon, this is probably they probably got one of the best data moats when it comes to retail sales and things like that. This is a really, really great company. And so I think that there's the potential that you're going to see something like you saw with Amazon, that you saw with SoFi, that you saw with Robinhood, where they become net income positive. And I can show you some charts of kind of like what that looked like for some of these others. Like let's look at Hood when they became net income positive, and then they started getting listed in the S&P. Like you can see a transition. When is that? 2023, midway through 2023, then they become net income positive. If we look at that chart real quickly on Hood, we can see something similar here. So we'll go back to 2023 and I'll just show you what they look like, right? So in 2023, they weren't net income positive. Then they started to become it. We got interested over here, right? What happened? Hood went up a lot. It went up a lot. It went up 1,800% from this level back at the end of 2023. So when they went positive, they went straight up. Well, I can't say straight up. There was a 43% drop. There's a 55% drop and a 58% drop. But you can see where the trend is, right? This might be widening, but the trend is up. Now, again, you've reached a much bigger market size. It's a $76 billion company now. If it gets back to its previous price, it'll probably be like 120. 110-ish. So this is a much bigger company now. Remember that. But this gives you an idea of what happens after you start turning net income positive and you get uplisted. Let's look at a company like Palantir. And again, I won't say that this is as good as Palantir, but man, it's a good company as far as a potential investment, because we can see what happened with Palantir when they went from negative cash flow to positive around that same time, end of 2022. I can show you that chart. It's a fucking nice one. And again, we got 30 seconds till that data, so we'll stop after this. But I would say the end of 2022, right over here, to where we are now, or where they went, you got a nice, cool 3,300%. That's a Tesla-like move. So again, if they can keep ramping up with that cash flow and that net income, it's going to be sick. And I'm very excited about it. Let's go over here though, and we're going to listen. Oh, if we can get it up. We're going to turn this on here in a second because I think they're going to be talking about what's happening with what indicator are we looking at? The Dallas Fed Manufacturing Index, which I'm going to say is kind of a big deal. So let's listen to this because they're going to get a Rick Schmantelli on in a second, I
in
think.
this country all the time. And, after each one we ask, what's
While they're
going to
doing
change,
that,
what's going to happen.
I'm going to see if I got the data.
And nothing really does. And so I don't think this one is going to move the needle on the political temperature in this
So it
country
was negative.
at all. I mean, I think we're going to see a lot
April
of hate
is negative
and anger
2.3
and frustration on all sides, and that's just
So
going to
not
continue.
great.
And I think that's the reality of the world we
Forecast
live
was
in. I mean,
negative 0.8,
for-
so it's
for
worse
better or
than
for worse,
expected. But
my reaction
I'm going to argue
in those
this.
seconds that we heard the gunshots was like just not
The trend
of
is still in the
surprise
right
at all,
direction.
and
But I wish
just
it would have been
you
positive.
kind of expect it
That would have been
at
sweet.
these big events at this point.
Let's see if they got Rich
but that's
Schmantelli
kind of
talking
a
about
shock that it can still happen. That someone can get so
it.
close.
ASST's above 16.
To the president,
Absolutely.
to all of us.
Absolutely, but I mean, again, security
Nice.
did their job, right? I mean, they set their perimeter.
did.
The perimeter was where it was. You can
Once it
argue
does
about
that, it's
should it have
going to-
been
it's
farther
going
out,
higher.
But you can only secure so much, right? And
Once it does that,
the bigger that you make
it's an
the
easy
perimeter,
62%
the
higher
more you have to secure,
between now
the
and September.
easier it is for somebody to get through because your line is thinner and thinner.
Maybe
the
more
farther
if they
out
blow
you
through
go
those
and the
options
more people
contracts.
you're up against.
They're not talking
So
about it.
Any attack is going to hit that first line
They're
of
not talking
security.
about it. So we got the data point though. I don't think it's that interesting. It's not horrible. It's worse than forecast. But again, compared to what's been happening for the last 3.5, almost 4 years now that we've just been in the shitter in manufacturing, this trend is way better. This last 3 months is way better. The only thing that's comparable is the end of 2024, beginning of 2025. And I would argue that was excitement about, well, it was a couple things. It was people front-running tariffs because they knew tariffs were coming. It was also excitement about Trump's economy, but then tariffs came and everybody got scared, and so we went back down. But since then, look at this. Look at this going up. So the United States Dallas Fed Manufacturing Index, I think, looks great when you look at the trend line going up from here after people were front-running tariffs and then got excited about Trump's economy. So this looked like a good moment. This was despair. And we are climbing up, and I think the months and quarters ahead are just going to get better and better. So yeah, Zeta, cool buy. Markets, I think, are going to do great. Over the short term, maybe we have consolidation with Bitcoin. Maybe we have consolidation with the S&P. But I think what STRC doing is sick. I think MicroStrategy is an excellent buy right here. And I think you should be bullish on chips, and you should be bullish on scarcity. You should be bullish on Bitcoin. There's a lot of great companies. I think Inflows is going to do really good. I didn't talk about that. I'll show some quick charts here before my final moment here. BMNR is a beautiful looking chart, consolidating under the 100 and the 200 moving average and peak volumes. Looks ready to explode when Ethereum does take off. Don't know when that's going to happen. I think there's potential for 600% upside this year if that does well. Enphase is one that was really tied to the housing market. This is solar inverters and stuff like that. They have done a great job limiting costs within their business. They had a huge spike after the last earnings. You can see how this last earnings, they just went boom. They went from like 34 all the way up to 53, where they had the downward resistance, confirmed it, dropped back down. And now we've got earnings this week. I think tomorrow, after hours, trying to figure out what's next. And I think that's going to be a very interesting one. I might even do a call for that. If you guys are interested in it, definitely let me know by giving me comments on X in this video. and after this video. Put your comments out there, and I'll do an in-phase quarterly earnings call, and we'll hang out and listen to that one. I think this one has massive potential. I think it can go back to the previous high at least. That number, if I just draw this down here, is, and I don't know that it happens within this next year. Maybe it takes 2, but I think 867% increase. They've done a really good job managing their business, and I think they've figured out their growth strategy. And if the housing market comes back and if rates go down, I think this is a good play in that environment. King Size said, great call today, buddy, and thanks for the chart day call on Thursdays as well. Yep, we'll get better with that. I appreciate you guys. I think there's a lot of good opportunities out there. I hope you're taking some of them. Don't run away. Don't let the bears scare you. It's perfectly normal to take a breather after you've been rocking for an entire fucking month. If you made 150% on ASST in a month, or made 100% on Iron or Cypher or CleanSpark, whatever it is, all these things that have bounced really hard, be grateful. Enjoy that and realize that it's okay to take a breather. I love you guys. I will talk to you on Thursday. We're going to get more videos out, specializing in these different topics so that you guys don't have to watch the whole things if you don't want to or don't have time. We're going to work hard for you. Please work hard for me and hit the like button. Peace out.